Good morning, everybody. Hey, this is Gary Matheny from Liberty Observatory. Thank you for joining me today. Liberty Observatory is your podcast that always keeps an eye on liberty. It's a sweet ride when you're a free man, when you're a free woman. Today we're going to go down a political route. And please like, share, subscribe, do the YouTube thing so that I can get taken out of the backwaters of YouTube. In other words, I need more people following. And it's a relatively easy program to follow. Basically, I never try and sell you anything. I don't use this as a fundraising mechanism. I myself am a free man, free on the outside and free on the inside. And my goal really is singular, to help you all be free, both on the inside and on the outside. And I will try and address subject matters to help illuminate matters. So today we're going to go down the political route. And the really hot topic right now relates to the Russian hoax. And that reverts back to the Steele dossier or the Steele report. I think Steele is Steele, and that's in reference to the author of the report. And it's about 10 years old or so. And it first arose during the 2016 election cycle. Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. And interesting thing, I remember when it was first on the scene with the media, it was almost universally discredited. Not mocked, not scoffed, but unreliable. And I thought, well, I guess the media's intelligence sources at that time were saying, don't believe this thing. It's not true. It's not been verified. And so it didn't play a huge part in the 2016 election. But then on the other hand, it never died. It never went away because it resurfaced a few years, maybe a few months down the road after the election. Well, the dossier had some outright outrageous accusations in them. And that was maybe the reason why the intelligence community didn't buy into it. They had things like Donald Trump soiling, if that's the right word, soiling women in his bed, and all kinds of things. It was kind of like, let's think everything bad about Donald Trump and let's throw it in here and say it's a Russian hoax. The Russians were going to try and steal the election away from Hillary Clinton in favor of Donald Trump. And I guess everybody was afraid of Hillary Clinton, including the Russians, which, who knows? She had the red button. Remember when she became Secretary of State? She had the red button, is going to reset everything with Russia. It's just kind of like Putin looked at her like, why are you presenting me a red button? It's interesting. Well, basically, over time, according to Tulsi Gabbard, she's with the, I call her a national advisor, a NSA person, National Security Advisor. She is with the Division of National Intelligence. So she's pretty high up in the Donald Trump administration. And so she has a bunch of emails, apparently, where Barack Obama injected himself into the intelligence agencies with those agencies' cooperation and help. And this desired to push the Russian hoax scandal and make his presidency, the original one, number one, to make it, distracted, make it difficult, and, just helping being a failure. And so anyhow, these emails apparently show a change, an abrupt change, where the intelligence agencies poo-pooed the Steele dossier and didn't think it had any credibility. Then you have Barack Obama injecting himself in the situation, and all of a sudden the Steele dossier has credibility, the Russian hoax has credibility, let's run with it. And the Steele dossier, once the security agencies started accepting it, or at least portions of it, as true, they did things like they used the Steele dossier, or at least portions of it, to justify FISA warrants. Our country has secret courts. Now, you're not going to be tried in a secret court in this country, at least not yet. But as part of the growth out of 9/11 with Homeland Security and the laws that changed or were added, we had the FISA courts. And what happens is you take information to a judge, a FISA warrant, ask him to sign it, and then you can spy on the American people with the power of the FISA warrant. And so it helps get around the Constitution. And so basically, Steele dossier, which has been discredited originally by the intelligence communities, parts of it is being used to cite justification for the issuance of FISA warrants by the FISA courts. And so it became pretty insidious as to how this conspiracy grew and how the Steele dossier was playing a part in this. Now, things the last couple of days have gotten very heated. Yesterday, Donald Trump, true to character, accused Barack Obama and other leading Democrats or bureaucrats of treason. He used the strongest language that he could because that's what Donald Trump does. I may have used other language like maybe criminal fraud or maybe election interference or something, but he went for the jugular right away, and Barack Obama, of course, responded, and he's got a cooler head, more tempered way of communicating than Donald Trump. He basically said that this is based upon nothing. This is just hyperbole. It's foolishness. It's over the top. And then he adds an important aspect to this, and that is no votes were swayed by the Russian hoax. How do you prove that? How do you disprove that? I don't know. But see, that's his out, in my opinion, because if you really go after Barack Obama and his associates relating to the Steele dossier, I think you may have to show that it somehow impacted the election. And it's going to be a difficult thing to prove that it was swaying votes one way or the other. Well, getting to the emails themselves, if it's just consequence, if it's just something that's coincidental, then it's kind of like, how is that proof? And so what the intelligence agencies can do is that intelligence data is subject to interpretation. And early on, we thought the Steele dossier lacked credibility. But upon further review, we think that at least portions of it had credibility. And we thought they were important, that needed to be investigated and pursued. And so they got a slippery place where they can go. They can basically say, you know, that was the initial impression, but over time we changed our opinion. That's the nature of analyzing intelligence data. And so if it's just merely coincidental, that's going to be hard. So what I think the government, if they prosecute Obama and his accolades for treason or for any other criminal cause of action, they're going to have some really juicy emails. Just not Barack Obama showing up in the email chain. It has to be a conspiracy, a real conspiracy that has language certain along the lines of, you know, we really need to get Donald Trump. Or, you know, we know the Steele dossier is full of baloney, but we really need to get Donald Trump. We got to get him out of office. We got to discredit him. We have to distract him, et cetera, and et cetera. And when you're talking about seasoned and veteran, even though political, intelligence personnel, and politicians, seasoned veteran politicians like Barack Obama, I don't think there's going to be a smoking gun in those emails. And so Tulsi Gabbard did the right thing. She accumulated all the information she could, and then she made a Department of Justice referral. And now the file is going to sit on somebody's desk who's going to review it and decide whether or not to prosecute. Part of the problem with this, from a practical perspective, and I have no problem with the criminal referral, because if she believes that a crime has been committed, part of her duties is to make a referral to the Department of Justice. But part of the problem is that if the Department of Justice decides not to prosecute or fails in their prosecution, it's going to be one of those deals where, see, it was just a political witch hunt. See, Donald Trump was only trying to get revenge. He felt like the government went after him, which it never did. And he's using the government, weaponizing the government to go after his political enemies, which the Democrats never did. They were only seeking enforcement of the laws. No man is above the laws. So if it fails, it could politically backfire on Donald Trump and the administration. But still, at the end of the day, the criminal referral need to be made, because we're never going to get answers to some of these questions. And even after a criminal referral, there still may be a lot of questions. That's just the way politics and law works. So in summary, the Steele dossier, the report, was discredited from the beginning by an intelligence agency that was no friend of Donald Trump. That leads you to believe that it was so outrageous it wasn't believable. But then, like everything else in Washington, it got politicized and it got energized by political and bureaucratic people who thought they can make Donald Trump look bad, impact his presidency. And so, at the end of the day, let's see how this winds through the system with the understanding that everything relating to law, everybody, goes a lot slower than what we would like. Everybody have a good day. Bye-bye.